good morning, good evening over there in the Philippines and around the world. Welcome to Free Talk with Mr. B, to another episode of Adult Communications. Hey, Alicia, Phil, how are you guys?
Hi, fine.
I'm
Good,
doing
good. It's
great.
very good to see you guys. The weather holding up over there? The typhoon?
Yep. In our location, it's not that super rainy or super gloomy. I think it's gonna be north of Luzon.
Right? And it's the season. They just said the temperature above 35 in Florida waters. So hopefully over the next few months, we have to all prepare for what can be some super typhoons this way too, as the planet is getting hot. And today our topic is not about the weather though, as much as I would love to talk about it. In this episode of Adult Communication, it's asking the question, what does she want? And to be fair, I just know next episode is going to be what does he want? But what does she want is a good question. I'm sure many have asked this question, or maybe at least us men or other groups may have asked this question because they think we're not communicating. So I wanted to get you guys' this perspective. What does she want? Any of you?
Um, of course it depends, and I feel like if a partner is wondering, oh, what does she want, is because the girl did not communicate enough. So it's more an issue coming from her than from him, I believe.
Okay. And Phil?
For me, asking what does she want means, especially like Alicia mentioned, if that's partner asking for you or someone because they want to know you more, that's why they're asking what does she want or she prefers, or referring to us, let's say girls. So they're asking what do you want because they want to know you more. They want to get to know you better.
That's really nice. I think I'm a little more controversial. And controversial is, I think some of us guys, we get to the question after we think we're not getting it, or we're not understanding, or that maybe we presented one thing, two things, three things, and we thought that's what she wants, and yet we're not getting the response we're looking for, right? We're not decoding it, as Alicia will normally say.
So
And
are you
so,
saying that you start questioning yourself when you realize that, oh, you don't know? When in fact you should question before and then act?
right.
Interesting.
And it's part of the adult communication series, because it's true. We do not know what each person really want. And so sometimes we've gone through some of the conversations of silent communication. Maybe we're not catching the code. Maybe we would have looked at body language, we're not catching the code. We may have heard all of the words, and yet we're not catching the code. So we may still go ask ourselves, what does she want? Let's say one guy is talking to another with his buddies, and he's asking that very question. It could have been he just got kicked out, or he just got failed responses. So what does she want? When you're dealing with the people in your lives or the other significant persons in your life, what do you want as far as adult communication?
Yeah. So in your example, you mentioned someone asking their friends, what does she want? And to me, this is not a good move, because if you're wondering what does the person want, you should ask them directly.
Yeah.
And as I was saying previously, it's also the person who should properly explain what are her expectations, so he can know.
And Phil?
I agree, because sometimes for us women, it's hard to, although it's not hard to communicate what we want, but it's more of we are reluctant to say what we want, because we might sound bossy, we might sound needy if we communicate the things that we wanted. Might be there for me. I'm gonna put myself as an example. I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for, but when someone asks me what does she want or what do you want, it's hard for me to say, because might be he will think that I'm needy, that I require this much. So I'm reluctant. That's the word for me.
And I can imagine that to be true, because we're saying we do not want to fail, we do not want to push, we want to communicate, but we don't want to go too far. You think all of us have these reluctances, or where, I don't know, how are we getting through? Because sometimes, I mean, all of this information is going, and you walk away frustrated. He walks away frustrated, or the other significant person or partner. And as adults, we want to clarify. I mean, here I go again, even at work, right? Work is always a safe space. Even at work, if your boss tells you something, but they're reluctant to say that they actually want you to do it, compared to it just being done, you might even still look at the boss and say, he or she, what does she want, or what does he want? In this case, let's stick with the what does she want. Let's say we were male employee. You guys are the boss now. I'm the employee. Because if I pick on the household, it's going to be picky, right? But you're trying to give me clear instructions now. Why am I asking what does she want? And I think it means, what does she really want?
Yeah. So I do agree with what Phil was saying. Sometimes there are a few factors that may make it difficult for us to express what we really want. So of course the person can ask and we say something, but it's not the full picture of what we expect. I think it has to do with maturity, to understand that first we should ask whatever we need, and don't fear that, oh, we would be perceived as too needy. There's this phrase that says, if the person believes this is too much, it's because it's not the right person. So you should just find the person who thinks, oh, you deserve it. So you are not perceived as needy. So I feel like it has to do also with self-confidence of, okay, if this person thinks I'm needy and then decide to live my life, then it doesn't matter, because it means this person did not deserve me, for example.
And Phil, are there times it's too late to draw those conclusions?
Yep, agree. There are really times like it's now late for you to say what are the things that you need, or do draw these conclusions.
Okay, and that, I mean, you have that in your culture where, oh, many cultures have it anyway. So I'm hearing Alicia's coming from a single perspective. I didn't even ask if you're married, but if you're married and deep into your family, you're coming from a family perspective, and you may not be able to conclude this person is not right for me at that point, right? But the question still
Correct.
comes up. He or she's going to be asking, what does the person want? What does she want? So although we're going to talk about next week, we're going to ask, what does he want? Asking what does she want means she didn't take all of the risk to say everything clearly about what she wants. And it could mean that the other partner also did not, or did realize that he's not meeting expectations.
Agree, because if that person, if she communicated what she wanted, I believe men will be able to do it gladly for them, as long as there is like a clear communication there.
Okay. And, to the most extent, right? To most extent, because we know there's some guys who are like, oh, no, I'm not doing that no matter what. And they'll find a way to get away from it. But yeah, I think most people will gladly try to accommodate when they are aware clearly of what she wants. And do you think that, well, no, I shouldn't ask it like that, because what are the limitations? because some people have expectations that there's no way they can fulfill those things. No way us guys can fulfill those things. Or maybe we have this mechanical mind where we're just prioritizing things based on our ability to do. So, I mean, what are the limitations? If he's sitting around asking, what does she want in this adult communication, that means she's not communicating at all. And we're going to pick on him next week, but it means he's not communicating either. So what are the limitations, we think?
The limitations on she. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alicia.
Go,
Well, I'm
go,
thinking
go.
for an answer.
I was still thinking, so you can go.
For that, is that limitation on the one who is asking what does she want?
Yeah, because if he's not doing it, there's times we meet, like, again, since we're talking about what does a woman want, there's times where a man could deliver the moon, the sun and the moon and everything, whether he wants to or doesn't want to. Maybe the woman is not asking for that. So since she's still not satisfied or not happy or content, maybe is still not communicating what she wants, even if he can deliver. Now, there's some women who will always say everything that they want, but the man can't deliver. He just does not have the capability, the capacity to do so at any particular current time. And so he's still wondering, can she see what condition I'm in? Why is she still asking for all this stuff? What does she want, right? So it's very hard to pick up on it. And so again, it's a good subject in adult communication because we have to be practical, right? And
Right.
in practical, it doesn't mean we're going to stop wanting what we want, but we should be practical. I don't mind. Sometimes I want to hear the pushback on this, because maybe us men, maybe we're lazy and don't want to do our jobs or something. So what does she want?
Yep.
What you were saying reminds me of a concept we have in my field. So it's called over quality. So, for example, when you are sourcing for supplier, you should tell them what are your specifications for the product, and if they deliver something that has over quality, it means that they provided I don't know, unnecessary functionalities. And it also affects the price, for example, because I don't know, you ask for a car and then they give you a car that can fly, then the car will be more expensive than a basic car. So this is over quality. You don't need a flying car. So it reminded me when you mentioned the moon. He delivers the moon, but is it what she wants? No, maybe she won it in 3 months, but as of today, is it what she needs? And it has also a lot to do with the love languages. So we have our way to express and to receive love. So he can express his love by gifting, which is very good. But if her love language is, I don't know, word of affirmation, she will not even understand the full extent of what he's trying to tell her. So
Right.
if he's not trying to understand what is her love language or what are her expectation or how she understands love, then he can do whatever he wants. He will never deliver the right thing, and over quality or not good quality enough, we don't know, but
I
it
know.
goes. Yes, the first step is, of course, to ask question, understand, get to know the person, and adapt, because maybe she needs this today, but tomorrow it will be different.
Right.
I agree with that, Alicia. It's meeting halfway for she and he. If she communicated what she wants, there at least he could try the best that he can to give what she wanted. And sometimes when she mentioned what she wanted, he could at least try to bring or to do the best that he can, or might be he can also communicate, this is the things that I can do for you now, And for men, I think it's more of knowing what she valued deep down. So at least you know what you can provide, and then you can meet halfway there.
All of these things are so true, and it's a tough scenario to be in, and to it's worth discussing, because sometimes the reason this show is up is because sometimes we just don't talk about it. Sometimes we don't articulate it to help each other understand that we're all in different spaces. And that one topic sentence Alicia brought up, I have to add it to my list because I probably forgot that one. And that's just the plain old love language. We all come from a different internal emotional well-being, and we understand things or accept things in different ways. And so is there some science behind love languages? And it'll be nice to talk about that one day for sure. But definitely those are the things we're talking about right now are indeed a different perspective of trying to understand what does she want, because she's not necessarily being unreasonable, he's not being unreasonable, but we're trying to communicate these ideas and wants and needs. And can it be done at this time, or can it be done at another time? And I think most people do understand if you tell them, look, I understand exactly what you're telling me. I think I understand exactly what you want, if they say that. And let's be honest, I think for some of us men, the reason why we're not honest about saying why we can't or won't do that right now is because we're always in fear of losing. We think we're going to lose. And I don't know, maybe it's next week's conversation. Phil, you mentioned it earlier. There's a reasons why you didn't say something. Is it similar to men too, that you say, I'm afraid I'm going to make him angry or piss him off, and I'm still not going to get what I want?
Yeah, I think so, because if I think it's struggle to communicate what I wanted or what I deserve, because emotion, you could feel very nervous by asking for it, or fearful might be you are thinking you are more asserting yourself, or could be leads to pushing back on something because you just wanted more.
And Alicia, have you faced some of that too? You
Oh,
don't,
when
you
I
don't,
was older,
you don't
not
look like if
anymore.
you're ever afraid. Are you ever afraid to say exactly what you want?
Not anymore. Because I understood that I'm losing more by not saying than by saying, and then whatever the consequences will be.
Okay.
Because
And
I feel too frustrated, and just because I decided myself not to say, so I say, and then whatever happens.
whatever happens, happens, huh? And, and Phil, for you, whatever happens, happens.
Sometimes, yes, and I'm now overcoming, like Alicia. I think it's better really to communicate what you wanted than it's too late to say those things that you wanted at first, because might be it's too late for them to do something.
And before we close, this is a good one to ask then. How do you know that he perceived correctly, accurately, or actually even heard you or picked up on your emotions, feelings, love language when you're trying to say what you want? What is the feedback process, procedure, or recourse that kind of validates that the person is actually knowing what you want when we're asking
Action.
what does she want? Alicia said action.
That's it.
Yep, action. If at least if they try to deliver what you asked from them.
Okay. And because, sometimes I always say that's confusing because I go back to the three factors of food, shelter, and clothing. And I put a lot of emphasis there, and it has varying degrees. Um, but there's an old saying back in my home country, and it kind of relates to this, I think. It says you can't have love affairs, and love languages and everything without money. And the women will say, we didn't really want all this. We didn't want you to have that big job. We didn't need the big house. We just wanted you to be here with us and love us. Do you guys believe which is really true? because the man used it as a disclaimer saying, oh, you know, I have to leave the house and go and make money. Can't have love without money. The woman said, oh, all you need is love, which is true. What does she really want?
Both are true.
Uh-huh.
Money is important. So you cannot sustain your lifestyle with love only. So in French, we have this live with love and water. It's not, you cannot live with just love and water. So both are important, and as Phil was saying, it's all about balance, and everyone has to meet in the middle to make everyone happy.
Okay, Bill?
I agree. That reminds me of the saying here in our culture, love cannot feed you. So both is important as well. The emotional availability of your significant other as well as money. Because right now, money moves everything. So it's both
Yeah.
important.
And as we close, I'm hoping we can bring up some of it also when we're asking the same question about what does he want. And I think I would venture to say that that is very correct on the balance. How we balance it out as humans is going to be hard, but the balance of providing two things or all things is trying to do something called listening and communicating and trying to understand. That's a big effort, right? They're trying to understand what does she want. And it could be from any angle, but we know it's from every angle. We need to spend the time as human nature to try and listen and understand and figure out what we want. Thank you for going over this topic. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I do. And you guys are being nice. I'm going to get my listeners to put pressure on you guys to really get controversial.
It's really controversial by asking what matters most, is that emotional availability or having the money. So I love this topic.
And so it's very good. It's very good to try to find out and see if we can get some feedback. We'll mention it next week. But next week we'll talk about what does he want, and we will be more looking from the woman to the man or from one side of the relationship to the other. You know, in today's world, we can do any which way we want. And so let's talk about that and find out what does he want. And in this continuous adult communication process. Thank you so much for being on. And this is another wonderful episode of Free Talk with Mr. B, Phil, and Alicia. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.